All right, let's check on Facebook, see if anybody can see me, see if anybody can hear me. I don't know if you can or cannot right now. I am not hearing myself very well inside my headphones, so I apologize if I was being loud. It is January 31st. This is the H2 show. I'm hoping that we are live. I'm trying to check and see. Get a little confidence monitor here. Oopsie daisy. Does look like we're live. So we are trying again to do a multi-stream here of us on YouTube and us here on the H2 Show webpage for Facebook. Maybe we'll do a YouTube-only show here pretty soon just to see if that's actually functioning properly. It does look like we're now live on YouTube. So if you are watching from YouTube, we welcome you for our first live stream on YouTube here on January 31st. It is going to be a new month. We're going to do some new things. Let's get a live look in on Adamson Square. You know me, I'm Jeffrey. This is the H2 Show. We're back with you. And what's up, you beautiful people? We are glad to have you back. We're glad for you to be here. And we are looking forward to setting the tone for a great February, a month of love and a short month this year. And we continue the Lunar Festival, so that's awesome. The Spring Festival, Lunar New Year, or Chinese New Year, as it's called. And let me swap the screens over here, and we'll tell you what National Day it is. So the National Day today is Hot Chocolate Day. And I did not know this, but hot chocolate and hot cocoa are not the same thing. So we use them interchangeably, generally, in my house. But hot chocolate is actually supposed to be chocolate that is melted into hot water or milk with the cocoa solids and the fats and everything inside of it, whereas hot cocoa is a more refined version of a powder. So anyway, two separate things, but it is Hot Chocolate Day, so I want you to enjoy some hot chocolate. The weather is not quite as cold as it has been. It is also Flat Bill Friday and Fun Friday, so welcome in. I'm glad you're back with me. We're going to go through the history of hot chocolate just so you know kind of what's going on. So in America, we often use the terms hot chocolate and hot cocoa interchangeably. However, the two beverages are quite different. Cocoa versus hot chocolate. We make hot cocoa with cocoa powder, heated milk or water, and sugar. We're able to do this thanks to a process developed by father and son chemists. For thicker, more flavorful beverages, we make hot chocolate from ground chocolate containing the cocoa butter. It's also great if you get cocoa butter in your lotion. I'm just saying, you ever want, like indulgent skin, like you're just a great feeling, put a little cocoa butter on. It's great. Okay, hot chocolate has been around longer than hot cocoa. In the early 1800s, though, Casparus van Houten Sr. developed a process to separate the solids from the butter. His son, Conrad Johannes, made those fats more soluble in water, and together their process made cocoa powder possible. So if you want to thank somebody for hot cocoa that comes in the can that's easy to dump over, you can thank these two, father and son there, Conrad Johannes and Casparus van Houten Sr. Pretty awesome to come up with a new invention of how to enjoy a delicious treat. And I guess we wouldn't have Swiss Miss and all those things if it wasn't for them. And I will say this. If you're, looking for a drink today, just go ahead and get some hot chocolate instead of your coffee. Maybe reset those adenosine receptors so we can actually have caffeine that works. And you can see I'm not in a button down today because it is Fun Friday and we wanted to have a good time. Felt a little stuffy in the button downs every day. So we're going to do Fridays a little different with just the standard old polo. All right, let's transition over to this day in history. So this day in history, we had some amazing events today. The 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1865, officially ending slavery. This was also when, in 1865, General Robert E. Lee became the general-in-chief over the Confederate Army. An interesting fact about that, in the 1800 era there, in 1865, around his time, there was a very different culture today we are loyal to most people, God or some higher power, and then country, and then state, and then family. Back then, state was valued ahead of the federal government. So you didn't really identify as American before you identified as, say, Virginian in Robert E. Lee's case. And so he had a very polarizing life into which do you choose? Do you choose your state or do you choose your country? There were talks that he was considered one of the greatest generals of all time, and Lincoln actually wanted him to lead the Union Army. So very interesting when you look at historical figures through the time that they lived, and as opposed to just looking at them from today's standards. Obviously, now looking back, I think you would say, hey, you shouldn't have led the Confederate Army. But at the time, he was very conflicted in his writings. So just an interesting character, not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, just something to study. In 1936, the Green Hornet radio show debuts. And then in 1943, this was moving towards the end of World War II, where the German troops surrendered at Stalingrad, making the first big defeat of Hitler's armies in World War II. During the Battle of Stalingrad, 160,000 Germans were killed and 90,000 taken prisoner, including the commander Friedrich von Pauls, the first German field marshal ever to surrender. The captured Germans were forced to march to Serbia, with few ever returning to Germany. In 1945, Eddie Slovik, a 24-year-old U.S. Army private, was executed by a firing squad after being sentenced to death for desertion. That was the first occurrence since the Civil War. And then in 1958, the Explorer 1 becomes the first successful American satellite. That's pretty cool. And then 1961, so we're right in the middle of the space race, the Ham the Chimp travels into outer space. And then 1990, this one I thought was funny, the first McDonald's opens in Moscow, Russia. So we'll stop there. A lot of interesting things happened in history. If you look back at, the space race, and some people will debate you on whether or not we actually landed on the moon. I'm not going to do that, but I will say I thought it was kind of funny. I was watching Pat McAfee. Not sure if anybody enjoys him. I love that he came on the College Game Day. Some people say he ruins the College Game Day experience. I have no idea how to take that. I think he's very entertaining and funny. But they were talking about, like, hey, how are we able to see in 4K, 8K, whatever? They were joking, the moon landing, but then they can't even take a Zoom call in from what's his name? Dan Orlovsky, and without it glitching. I don't know. Very good question. No idea. Who was the cameraman on the moon? Was it the moon rover that was doing the camera work? Because it was pretty good camera work, all I'm saying. Pretty steady shot, a lot better than I can do. And very interesting that we got all this technology now, and yet we've never been back. Just kidding. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to debunk whether or not we went to the moon or not. But it is an interesting thing to joke about. So moving on, let's talk about some birthdays. So, celebrity birthdays today. I got this feeling inside my bones. It was Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake's birthday is today. Kerry Washington's birthday is today. Bobby Moynihan, Porte de Rossi, Kelly Lynch, Minnie Driver, Anthony LaPilla, and then Marcus Mumford of Mumford & Son all have birthdays today, so happy birthday to them. It's always good to celebrate somebody's birthday. Yesterday, a very good friend of mine named Gabe had a birthday, so happy birthday to Gabe. If you ever want to have your birthday recognized here on the H2 show, all you got to do is submit it in the chat or send me a message, and I'll be glad to say happy birthday to you. Everybody deserves to have their birthday celebrated. It's really not your birthday. It's actually the anniversary of your birthday, or at least that's what Dwight Schrute would tell us, and we want to be technically correct. Some more birthdays we have. Jackie Robinson, pretty cool birthday there. Nolan Ryan. I always love those memes. It's like, hey, Nolan Ryan's arm was so tired after X number of innings pitched. He pitched a whole nother 5,000 innings. So just shots at the current culture of pitchers. But I will say, let's not pretend like the hitters haven't gotten better as well. So, if you have to throw really, really hard all the time, you definitely can wear that arm out. And I think part of that is that, Nolan Ryan was a special individual, one. Two, kids playing one sport year round and wearing their arm out as they get older. Then they end up with Tommy John surgery before they even make it to the pros because they pitch too much in college or whatever it may be. So, we throw at different velocities. We throw with different styles. Of course, that's going to have an impact on the longevity. Moving on from that, let's see. Jonathan Banks, happy birthday. Princess Beatrix has a birthday today. So those are our celebrity birthdays of the day. And again, I would love to celebrate some local celebrities and their birthdays. And if you're interested in being on the show, you want to come in and do an interview, you want to talk with us. Obviously, the news show is this Drive at 5. That's why we're here live at 5:30 in the morning. We may eventually move that to, hey, we do this at night and then post it in the morning so you've got something to listen to as you ride in. Maybe it'll be a little better edited. Not really sure. We'll see. It's going to depend on how much energy I have. But now let's transition to the national news. And before we do that, let's do a little check-in. I said yesterday that it was to my left. It's actually technically on y'all's right here. So, right there. That is the camera for the live look-in. So I just wanted to get you a live look-in. There is a little bit of traffic on the downtown Adamson Square. If that mandatory RTO impacts Carrollton, you may see that get a little bit more busy as we go. Let's transition, and let me just look you in the face. Bada bing. Okay, so let's go to national news. The national news, the investigation continues with the tragic crash that we had over in the D.C. area. There was a lot of controversy back and forth about who said what, and I don't know that it was helpful for some of the conversations that happened yesterday to happen. Maybe they were, or maybe they will prove helpful in time, and maybe you felt like they were. But I think when we have tragedies like this, it's better that we care about the families and pray for those families. Then we spend a lot of time speculating about what did or did not happen. I can just report what the news says. So according to the news, there was conversation and communication still happening between the helicopter and the plane right up until the time of impact. And according to the news, no one lived from that impact. We sort of alluded to that yesterday, that it would be really difficult, one, for anyone to survive a crash like that, and then two, that there were no ambulances leaving the area because the Potomac was really cold, and it would have been quickly, you would have went hypothermic if you landed there. So tragically, 67 people did pass, or is believed 67 people passed in the accident. We'll read from the news story because it's getting updated as we go. It looks like they updated one at 3:37. So even last night, I would have been behind the times. So the investigators found a black box after the deadly Washington crash and continue to search for answers. In summary, 64 people were aboard the passenger jet and 3 on the U.S. Army helicopter. It is the deadliest U.S. air crash since 2001, and officials say there are no survivors. What I was alluding to was that Trump and others faulted some diversity efforts in the government. I'm not sure that's a useful conversation to be having at this time. The passengers included the U.S. and Russian figure skaters. So unfortunately, those folks perished as well. It was an American Airlines Bombardier jet, and it was carrying 60 passengers with 4 crew members, and it was an Army Black Hawk helicopter, and it crashed into the Potomac River as it prepared to land at Washington National Airport on Wednesday night. If I remember correctly, Pete Hegseth, the now Secretary of, I'm going to say it wrong, Secretary of State, I believe, mentioned that this is a normal there's a normal course of doing night training for these helicopters. However, it's obvious that the flight plans were not adjusted appropriately. They said that one thing that was not normal but is not considered to be like a red flag or stop operation was that there was one air traffic controller at the time. That's kind of the preliminary results and what's going on. And again, I think the main thing is we continue to pray for the families that have lost people tragically, and we continue to think about those folks. And we hope that the officials in charge can come up with a way to solve this problem going forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. There have been apparently a shortage of air traffic controllers, and that has created the opportunity for some near misses. And when dealing with safety concerns, near misses should be the way that we adapt before the accident actually happens. So we got to take those things seriously. So how do we apply this to our own lives? We'll say there are going to be times in your life where, hey, you're tired and you almost do something. Let's say you almost have an accident driving home from work, and it's because you're tired. Well, I will say, take that into account. Hey, you got a second chance. So take those second chances and adapt and change your process so that bad things don't happen or bad things happen less often. And that should be your mentality in all safety things. Hey, I got away with standing at the tippy top of the ladder to clean the gutters, but it was a little shaky up there. Okay, next time, have somebody help you out, get a taller ladder. Make sure you're taking these things that happen nationally into account, even in your personal life. Because I promise you can be safer at home, and I want you to be safe, happy, and healthy. All right, moving on to the wildfires. So interesting information coming out. And again, some of this is speculation. So I'm just reading from news articles. This is the Los Angeles Times. It says, what or who started the Palisade Fire? Two leading theories emerge as investigations intensify. So the too long didn't read of this, the TLDR, is that there was a previous fire that happened on January 1st that they believe that they fully extinguished. However, there is some caginess or lack of transparency in whether or not they confirmed that with IR that there were, or infrared, that there were no hot spots during that fire. And so there are some that think that there's a possibility that created this issue. The other thought process is that there was someone that intentionally used fireworks or some sort of explosive device, fire creating or ignition device, and that created the fire. So more to come on that, but they're trying to drill in, and I think everybody wants for answers. We all want them, and we want them right now because we want to know what happened, who's to blame. And again, when we speculate on things like this, these are theories that are there. Hold them in your mind. Don't make up your mind yet if you want to do that, because often what happens, you make up your mind. I'll give you an example. Early in the COVID pandemic, there was speculation that it had come out of the Wuhan laboratory. And the corporate level story or the high level story from those in charge was, no way, that's not true. That's just speculation. That's not true. It came from this other thing. They set up a story. And it could have very well been either or. But as opposed to allowing that evidence to build, a lot of folks just had to dig in their heels and make up their mind on one or the other. And it creates what's called cognitive dissonance when you hear things that don't agree with your original entrenched thinking. That's not healthy for you to get entrenched in a thought process until you know all the facts. And it's okay to be wrong, even if it's just I'm wrong in what I was thinking. You don't have to be upset by it, because the reality is you didn't leak the virus and you didn't leak the story. So you're not tied to either one. Let the facts play out and then live with those facts. It's okay. And I will just encourage you, because there's going to be people that are going to tell you to believe this thing on the left, on the right. Just think for yourself. Make up your own mind as to what's true and not true based on the facts as they present themselves, and realize that nothing is fully one way or the other in most cases in life. Okay? And I just did it there, all or nothing. it's all blended, and you need to do your due diligence as a person if you want to have an opinion on that. And if you don't, that's okay too. You don't have to know what started the Palisade fires. I can try to give you the information, but you don't have to know that, not for your everyday life. So what I'm saying is don't get too bogged down in all those details as I just did that. So use me as an example of what not to do. Okay, moving on. Interesting story about lighting. You guys are starting to get a pattern. I think that I like technology, I like science, and I enjoy it. So one of the things that I was reading up on yesterday was on lights. So LED lights in the beginning were more of like a bluish light, and it was horrible. They were terrible. Your skin tone didn't look right. Your pictures, your paint, your whatever, all of it doesn't look right under that lighting because your eye is attracted to natural sunlight. But what you'll see in some of the labeling of these LED lights nowadays is those LED lights will say daylight. Well, that daylight is actually more like a harsh white versus a soft white is more like what you'd expect a incandescent bulb to look like. So as you're shopping for light bulbs, realize that the cooler number is going to be higher, and the warmer number, meaning the number that you probably want to use that's more like incandescent light bulb, is going to be lower on the Kelvin scale. So as you go shop for lights, realize that a soft white is probably what you're targeting, not the daylight light, because it's going to be a real harsh light for you. Okay. Now that I've lost all the viewers in my rambling, let's go to local news. In local news, there is a annexation, and again, reading from the city menu, an annexation and rezoning request for the Bagwell Road is headed to Carrollton Planning Commission. So on there's expected to be the request is expected to come before the City of Carrollton Planning Commission on February 11th at 5:45 during a meeting held on the first floor courtroom of the Public Safety Annex at 115 West Center Street, Carrollton, Georgia 30117. So if you have an opinion on this, then that is your opportunity to make your voice heard. So the annexation and rezoning request is from the county to city light industry, which is what the adjacent parcels are already zoned. I believe the applicant wants to bring this portion into the city and market it for development in the future with the flex option to combine it with adjacent properties. So again, I tell you that just so that I can keep these things in front of you. I also like to shout out the city menus as often as I can because I believe that Jonathan and his team over there do a fantastic job, and I believe that we need to support our local journalists and news providers because they're bringing us information about our city, our towns, and our municipalities that is valuable to us. So moving from that to one other article I saw, and this is just because I think I may want to go try this out. Ma Francis Kitchen is reopening after a burst pipe incident, and they sent a heartfelt thank you out to the community. Ma Francis Kitchen is the beloved Southern buffet located in downtown Roanoke, and it is thrilled to announce its reopening after a temporary closure from a burst pipe. The restaurant will resume regular hours, opening from Thursday to Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., located at 950 White Street, Roanoke, Alabama. So, again, if you want to go and support a local business, there's one to support. As we always say, if you can, and you're carrying cash, paying cash, but they'll take the money either way. The great thing about local businesses is that money goes right back into our community. So continue to support local when you have a chance. All right, we're going to transition to a little bit of a closeout here, and we'll talk to you about my motivation for you for the weekend and kind of give you some well wishes. So it's a great weekend. It's a transition weekend that's coming up. Tomorrow for me, I have the daddy-daughter dance that's going on. Guys, if you are doing that with your daughter, if you have a daddy-daughter dance upcoming, I challenge you to make that the best date you can for your daughter. The thing is about daddy-daughter dances, your daughter is going to look up to you as a dad. You are a father figure, and you are a father figure, and you need to model good behavior for what she should expect from her future husband, by treating her the way that she should be treated. So taking her out to eat dinner, opening the door for her, set the standard as a dad that somebody's going to have to live up to, because you want her to have expectations. And I'm not talking about, spoiling her with money and cash and luxurious, luxury vacations and those sorts of things. But I am talking about treating her the way she should be treated, and you'd expect a man to treat her when they're courting her for dating and marriage in the future. And it's coming. Like, my daughter is 9. I have 9 more years with her before she can go and make adult decisions. Obviously, she can make some adult decisions when she's not an adult, but you have to set the standard. So set the standard. Make sure you dress nice, shave, comb your hair, wear some decent clothes. It's okay to wear blue jeans and boots nowadays with a nice sport coat, but set the standard for your children. And you're also setting the standard, if you have a son, for how he should treat his future wife. And you need to be modeling that behavior. As Miles told us earlier this week, it's not just what you say, and honestly, it isn't what you say. It's what you do that models the behavior that your children are going to follow. And so set a good standard. Okay. Let's transition over here. Coming back to you. So I've challenged you this week to do hard things. I've given you example after example of people who do hard things. I want you to know life is going to be tough. We have to choose our hard, but you have people in your corner. And I've seen it time and time again because I like to watch the UFC. I saw Islam Makhachev and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib is coaching Islam. Islam makes a takedown, and Khabib is coaching him through every single move. Okay? Who's going to be your coach? Who's going to be in your corner? Pick them right? Right? You cannot change your friends. You can change your friends. You understand what I mean? You cannot change how your friends act, but you can change who your friends are and who you hang out with. Choose your tribe wisely. Find people that are there to support you and are wanting you to win. I had a real good friend, Francisco, yesterday tell me, hey, I enjoyed the show this morning. I'm going to tell you right now, I about cried. And the reason why is because I had a tough time yesterday with the show. And I was like, man, I really struggled getting that off the ground. But that it meant something to somebody, meant something to me. I've told you about my friend Dev Watts over at Watts Performance. He does rebuilding of Grand Nationals. You should go support him. If you've got a Grand National, if you just like looking at somebody working on cars that's passionate about something, go check him out. That is really motivating to me. My friend Bobby Moorhead, he's starting a podcast. There are people in your life that want to see you do well. Every one of them reached out. My friend Billy Lindahl, he reached out. He had some advice for me. He talked me through some things. These folks mean something to me because they care about me and I care about them. I care about you. We can be here at the H2 Show, have your back as well. So with that, let me leave you with the scripture for today. And let me just say, you're going to have a great weekend. You're going to have a great day on Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Spend time with family. Do the things that really matter. All right, let's jump into the scripture for the day. Loading. Okay, for me, the verse for the day that comes up is Romans 1:16, King James Version. I swapped it over from ESV. Maybe I shouldn't have because I'll probably mess this up. But for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. So don't be ashamed. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. So don't be ashamed to admit it. Don't be ashamed to talk about it in the right context. But also remember Because again, I've told you, if you're a believer or not a believer, I still love you. God still loves you. God's calling on your heart to join him. So what I want you to know, if you are a believer, it's okay to talk about it, but you don't want to beat people over the head with it. You don't want to be so heavenly minded. You're no earthly good. My pastor, Mark Limbaugh, will tell you about that. Shout out to Renew Church, a little plug there. But that is part of being a believer, being a good believer, and spreading the good word and God's love is understanding the power of grace and truth. And that's a universal principle. Whether you're trying to teach somebody something, I've heard it said this way. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That is true of everything you do in life. People want to know you care about them and that you want them to succeed, and then they'll be willing to let you sow into their life with what you know. So we love you here at the H2 Show. We want to see you do well. Again, in the comments, if you got comments about who we should interview, if you want to be interviewed, if you need some help, if you just want a good word or you want to talk about a certain subject, let me know. You are part of this show. You are the show too, and I can't do it without you. Love you guys. Y'all have a great weekend.